We have tons of NHL news and rumors to take a look at this evening. We have the latest on the trade speculation out of Vancouver. It does sound like a JT Miller trade is still very much likely to happen here in the very near future. The Canucks continue to work hard, even though the deal with the Rangers on the weekend fell through. Some more teams, including the Rangers, still being in it, plus teams like New Jersey, Carolina, and Dallas rumored to be in the mix. Plus, Miller may not be the only Canucks veteran that might find himself on a move. Lots of speculation on the future of Brock Boeser as well. Plus, we're going to take a look at some new updates on the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're apparently ready to sell off a lot of veteran players who would love to move on from Erik Karlsson. We'll discuss the future there. Plus, Connor McDavid, Tyler Myers, both handed suspensions today by the Department of NHL Player Safety. We have news from the NHL waiver wire and lots of other injury and news around the league. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have lots to discuss here today. Let's kick off the video by discussing the update from the Department of NHL Player Safety, who handed down matching 3-game suspensions for both center Connor McDavid and defenseman for the Canucks, Tyler Myers. Now, of course, the other night, Oilers in the Canucks game got very heated, especially in the towards the end of the game. McDavid and Myers were both penalized heavily, given a match penalty for this. And, of course, we knew they had a hearing here coming basically over a day that they've been waiting for this. We knew it wasn't going to be too significant of a suspension, given that they were both over the phone and not in person being offered. But the fact that both of these guys were given the same suspensions, so part of me says you shouldn't be surprised because of how we see things handled in player safety, but I also don't agree with them at all. Now, in 3 games, Connor McDavid's going to be forfeiting over $195,000 in pay, and Tyler Myers will end up forfeiting about just shy of $47,000 for his services here for the 3 games. And of course, that money goes into an emergency player fund as well with the union. So, clearly, these are very, I don't think, equal situations. I mean, in McDavid's case, I think the referee should be utterly embarrassed that Connor Garland was allowed to hold and clutch and grab and wrestle with McDavid as much as he was without getting called. The fact that wasn't whistled down is what led to the whole escalation here of everything. So, in all honesty, I think I do blame the referees for losing control of the situation. Like, even if they wanted to call McDavid as well, because I know there was one point before the cross-check, that McDavid did punch Garland because he was getting frustrated. He was all over him, bear hugging him, and just like, come on. Like, this is crazy. The NHL does not protect its top players, and if you think that they do and that they give preferential treatment, well, this is a prime example of how this is not the case. McDavid's been suspended before. Matthews has been suspended. Like, if their top players do cross the line, they do get suspended. But with the rules the way they are, they should be, not saying they need to get preferential treatment on the ice, but at the same time, they do need to look after their top players. Look at how well the NFL looks after their quarterbacks. I think they do a much better job in that scenario. But if the referees could have blown that play dead, even if they wanted to take McDavid and Garland both and say, okay, both off the ice, you're both getting 2 minutes for roughing, interference, whatever you want to call it. Like, leave it at that. The rest of the whole thing doesn't play out. I would like to see more accountability myself from the officials in these scenarios. I don't like this scenario at all. I think McDavid getting 3 games is a little harsh. We saw Matthews get a 2-game ban for a similar thing. Now Tyler Myers, in my opinion, he gets Bouchard right in the mouth. I think the Myers one to me is a little bit worse than Bouchard than McDavid on Garland. I don't know that they deserve to be matching here, in my opinion. But like I said, I really think the whole thing could have been avoided had the referees done their job properly. So I don't know. I've said it. I've seen it numerous times. I understand refereeing is a tough job. The officials do have it. A rough job. It's not easy. The game's super fast, but I just find the NHL has lost a lot of its good referees here in recent years, and I just don't think the officiating is as good as it could be. I think it needs to get better. I'd like to see a scenario as well where that sometimes the referees are made available post-game to the media to answer some questions on why things were called and not called. I think fans understand that nothing is perfect, and there's going to be missed calls, and a lot of times it works out that it's pretty even, missed calls on both sides. But this is just a scenario to me where McDavid deserved a little bit better. I know Canucks fans are going to completely disagree with that, and that's fine, but that's my take. I don't know that the suspensions here are equal. I don't agree with that, and I think, like I said, the call on McDavid, take them both off the ice and none of this escalates. So anyways, that's my take on that. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Did the NHL player safety get this right? How is this handled? Was it appropriate? Let me know what you think in comments below. A quick update from the NHL waiver wire today. Derek Ryan of the Oilers was on waivers yesterday. He was not picked up. I thought maybe the Flames might grab him. They do need a right shot centerman, but that was not the case. Ryan has cleared and been reassigned. So they also sent down Josh Brown back to the minors as well, and they're kind of making room here for John Klingberg, who joined the Oilers for his first practice here today. A couple updates out of Carolina for their game tonight. Freddie Andersen is back. He's been activated, ready to roll. This is also a couple of things. One, it's his first game since October 26th, so that's a big deal. It's missing significant time. And this is also game 500 for Freddie. So a huge game for him. At the same time, Captain Jordan Staal is also playing in game number 1300. So big night all around for the Hurricanes tonight. We got news today out of Chicago. The Blackhawks have hired former Minnesota Wild assistant GM Chris O'Hearn as the VP of Hockey Operations, so he'll work directly with General Manager Kyle Davidson. O'Hearn comes with a lot of experience. He's a trained lawyer. He's an attorney by trade, whose expertise comes with contract negotiations and the CBA. So certainly, a wealth of knowledge there and a good addition to the Blackhawks front office. Some other roster moves today. The Blackhawks today have activated Justin Danforth. He's been out since December 10th. Philadelphia placed Ryan Poehling on injured reserve today, and we saw the Sharks activate Kovalenko, who was back. He didn't play in today's game. They had an early matinee against the Bruins. He wasn't in the lineup, but he should likely get back in probably for the next one. The NHL today also announced the quarter-century teams for the Colorado Avalanche. As, of course, in case you've been missing it, they've been announcing quarter-century teams for the first 25 years of the current century here from 2000s on. So from 2000 to 2024. And every team has been getting their announcement slowly but surely. So many teams haven't had theirs announced. But the Avalanche had theirs today. Their group includes Team 1, being the forward group of Peter Forsberg, Nathan McKinnon, and Joe Sakic. That's quite the combo. So, of course, Forsberg, Avs legend, Sakic currently the president of the team, and McKinnon the current star of the team. So, certainly it's a big company there. On the back end, they have Adam Foote and Cale Makar, and between the pipes, Patrick Waugh. So, if you think about how all these players were in their prime of their careers, that would be one heck of a lineup. Team 2 for their quarter-century team includes a forward group of current captain, even though he's been out, he still holds the seat. Gabe Landeskog, hoping to make a return this year. We'll wait and see on him. Milan Hajduk and Mikko Rantanen, of course, current star with the team. Rob Blake on the back end, longtime Avalanche. Eric Johnson are your two defensemen. So Blake and Johnson, and goaltender Semyon Varlamov, of course, currently plays for the New York Islanders. So lots of updates there. So we should be getting the rest of these teams slowly here throughout the rest of January. So lots of news, very newsworthy day in that front. On the rumor mill, let's start with the Pittsburgh Penguins. We've seen reports today indicating that the Penguins are certainly ready, and Kyle Dubas is ready for a bit of a fire sale. There's only a handful of players that are off limits. Of course, if your name's not Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin, you're possibly on the move. Of course, they don't really want to move Brian Rust either. He's another, I wouldn't call him a complete untouchable, but it's pretty unlikely they would move him unless they got some ridiculous offer they just couldn't turn down. And of course, a couple of the younger players that they've acquired lately, like Tomasino, for example, would also be in that category. But some other veterans that have term, like Rickard Rakell, not a complete untouchable. They'd be willing to move him. He's on a 40-goal pace. And he's not making a ton of money. I think Rakell would be a great pickup for a lot of teams that are trying to vie for the Stanley Cup. And, of course, Erik Karlsson's another one, which we'll talk about here momentarily. But Marcus Pettersson, Matt Grzelcyk, some other names out there that could be, they already moved Lars Eller. And there's other guys along the team, too, that are either expiring or close to it that would be movable. Hayes is another one. Beauvillier, there's lots of names on the Penguins that are available. They'd love to move Tristan Jarry. Of course, he cleared waivers, so that's probably pretty unlikely right now. That might be something for the offseason if they can get it done and how he finishes out his season here, I guess. But, of course, with the Penguins, Raquel and Carlson are probably the most intriguing names. Marcus Pettersson, like I said, has been out there as well. Pettersson's been out there really for a couple of months, whereas Raquel and Carlson are a little bit newer. Erik Karlsson, of course, is a big name. Never really, I wouldn't say he didn't live up to the hype in Pittsburgh, but I do wonder if they thought they might be getting 100-point Erik Karlsson like we saw in his last year with the Sharks. That was just absolutely insane. Like I said numerous times before, I think Erik Karlsson that year was motivated to be traded and just went absolutely nuts. And he, of course, was the main puck-moving defenseman on that team. And that makes all the difference in the world. So, to me, I don't think he's been I know defensively he's got his shortcomings. And I don't think he's been I don't think anybody in Pittsburgh, had visions of him being a stud defensive shutdown guy. But offensively, I don't know if he's been horrible. I mean, I think his numbers might not look as good as the tail end of his time with the Sharks because of his role being different. But like I said, when they acquired Erik Karlsson, I'm not really sure why he became Kyle Dubas's primary target. Having a guy like Chris Letang on that back end, they are very similar style defensemen, can do similar things. I mean, Karlsson might be a little bit more dynamic, but, Letang is no slouch offensively and has, put up a lot of points with the Penguins, has been there, run their power plays. To me, it was a telling tale that they didn't have a lot of confidence in Letang's ability to be that top offensive defenseman anymore later in his career. At least that's how I felt about it. Maybe I was wrong, but that's certainly my take. And just having two guys there, it just didn't seem to work. It wasn't really what they needed. Like I said, I'm not sure we can say Karlsson's been god-awful or anything like that. I just don't know that that's what they needed most. And the biggest thing for me is, you'd think with San Jose, when they acquired Erik Karlsson, to me, him and Brent Burns, and you notice all his biggest successes came after Burns left. And it's not that they can't coexist, but you're not going to have the ice time, the opportunities, the power play. It's just, you can't have two guys that are used to being such big minute munchers, leading the way, being the primary puck mover, getting that much opportunity to suddenly cutting that in half and sharing the spotlight. You can do it, but you can't expect the same results out of each player. Now, of course, Erik Karlsson could be a good addition to teams that are, heading for playoffs this year and looking to make a big, bold move. But you have to caution here, he still makes a ton of money. I mean, San Jose only retained, I think, 16%, I believe it was, on the Karlsson contract. So, out of the money he's making, the Penguins are still on the hook for, quite a large portion. I think it works out to be, around $10 million. Even if they eat half, that's still a $5 million cap hit. He's got a little bit of time left on that deal. Every time Karlsson's name comes up in trades or rumors and speculation, he automatically gets linked to Ottawa because of the fact that he still, his wife's from Ottawa. He spends a lot of time in the summers. I think he'll always be an Ottawa boy, or, at heart. He started his career there. Had some of his top hockey there. He'll probably always live there because he's got, like I said, his in-laws and family there. Like Alfredsson stuck around. They seem to like it there. Lots of reasons for him to remain in the city just as a citizen, not even so much as a hockey player, even if he never plays for the Sens again. But I think out of all the players during the Eugene Melnyk era as being owner there that left town, I think he's probably the one that kind of Sens fans were the most, heartbroken by. And so they always want to bring him back. And, I can relate to that. I can understand. And the only thing is for me is I don't think that it's an automatic fit anymore. The thing is for that kind of money, if they could sign him as a free agent, he was willing to sign like a cheap short deal as a nostalgia, come back home, finish out your career, that's a different story. But that kind of cap hit, when you've got Shabbat, you've got Sanderson, they've got good partners now with them, with Zub and Jensen, that really balances them out nicely. You got your third pair. Is Erik Karlsson going to be a third pair or a seventh defenseman? I don't think so, right? So, again, the Sens are trending towards being a playoff team. I get the nostalgia. I just don't know that there's a fit there. Now, like I said, if he were bought out or the contract were voided, he could be a free agent right now, and they could sign him for 1 year, $1 million, or 1 year, $2 million, or something cheap, and he was willing to take a lessened role. Okay, that could work. So we'll see what happens. I can understand his interest to go there. Like I said, his good friend and mentor Daniel Alfredsson's coaching there now. New ownership. It's still home for him in the summer. There's lots of reasons why he wants to go there. I'm not saying he does, but why he would be okay with it. But I'm just not sure the fit's there. So we'll see. But he's definitely on the market. Pens are willing to move him for the right price, and willing to retain money as well. And Rickard Rakell, another name, like I said, that you definitely want to keep an eye on. He could be a sneaky good trade pickup for a lot of teams going for the Stanley Cup. Now in Vancouver, we'll get into Miller in just a second, but another name there to watch is Brock Boeser, pending UFA. Down season compared to his 40-goal campaign last year. Not a horrible year, but definitely down a bit. But again, like we said before, I thought Brock Boeser was a prime candidate for at least a bit of regression this year. The whole team is seeing it and feeling it, which doesn't surprise me in the least. This is something I kind of seen coming. I didn't see the whole, drama in the locker room and stuff between Miller and Pettersson and all that stuff. But, the fact is right now, negotiations on a contract extension haven't gone the greatest with Boeser. We've seen his stats be up and down, his role be up and down. And it just, to me right now, things based on Vancouver media's reports, it sounds like things are trending towards a more likely scenario where he's moved than signed. Now, things can always change. I'm sure Boeser, part of him probably wants to stay, and we don't know if he's, what his thoughts and feelings are. We'll see how this team changes too over the next number of weeks leading towards the trade deadline. That might have a change of heart for him. But Brock Boeser could be a great pickup for a number of teams. He's been linked to his hometown Minnesota Wild forever, just being a Minnesota boy growing up. Does he want to head home? There was a mention of from Rick Dollywall on his show with Donnie and Daly about Columbus being a team to maybe watch if Boeser is up for availability here for a trade. I wouldn't completely rule out a team like Ottawa either. And that's just my gut feeling. There's no rumors from connected insiders saying that this is the case, but the connection being his former coach Travis Green, where he put up some of his best numbers. The Senators are trending towards being a playoff team. We know that general manager Steve Staios has made it known publicly that if they're trending towards being a playoff team, that he wants to help this team. I would expect them to be buyers and add at the deadline. And if you look at this roster, for me, the one area that they probably really need to add in, if I'm Steve Staios, is the top six forward. Maybe a depth defenseman, just in case they run into injuries, because they've run into injuries. Their depth has been tested. Thankfully, their depth that they do have has done reasonably well. But add another depth piece there with some experience would be good, because a lot of their depth are really young. Clevin, Matt and Paolo, Sabrango, Bernard Docker. To have another experienced guy, not named Travis Hamonic back there, I think would be great. For them, I'd look to that. But if you look at their roster in the forward group, to me, they've got a good mix in your third line. Does Shane Pinto move to the top six eventually? I don't know. To me, you could play Norris and Pinto one on the wing, and you have a solid top six, but then your third line's going to be lacking. Either way, you need another forward. They have lots of centermen if they stay healthy between Stützle and Norris. And then, of course, you got Pinto. Ridley Gregg's a natural center playing wing right now. He could become that 3C. They have options there. So, to me, Boeser could be a great fit on the wing. Instead of reunited with his old former head coach, where he had a lot of great success there. We've seen other players like Adam Gaudette from the Vancouver days get rejuvenated and find a role under Travis Green in Ottawa. So, we'll see. That's just my gut instinct on a good fit. But right now things are trending towards a Boeser trade. Now in Miller's case, we've heard more updates according to, I believe it was Thomas Drance, talking about what he believes the deal was that fell through with the New York Rangers. There's been lots of speculation. I know Larry Brooks talked about this in an article yesterday. My video last night was talking about what the intel from him was saying, that, Lafreniere's name was brought up a lot, and Braden Schneider. They seem to be the two targets that on the Rangers that the Canucks seem to like the most. And maybe this is why the deal fell through. Is based on what we're hearing now, it doesn't sound like either name was on the table from the Rangers. But the belief is at this point that the deal was somewhere around Ryan Lindgren, of course, pending UFA defenseman, Philip Hedl, of course, injury history, but a pretty decent middle six centerman, who's still on the younger side of things, and a conditional first-round pick. And it's believed that the sticking point here that they couldn't agree on was the conditions on the first-round pick. So that's kind of where things are at. I'm guessing, obviously that the Canucks wanted different conditions. Rangers wouldn't do it. They couldn't come to an agreement. But like Elliot said today, Elliot Friedman saying that deal's not dead. It's kind of off the table right now, at least what the original discussions were. But the Rangers are still very much interested in acquiring him and are trying to kind of work around that and maybe put together a different deal that might work. So the belief was Hedl, Lindgren, and a conditional first, and that fell through. A couple things we've also learned about this whole Miller situation was before the JT Miller situation where he took a leave of absence. I know there was a situation where Rick Tocchet benched him a bit the last game he played before, and we're now hearing that there was some sort of altercation or incident between him and Tocchet. I don't think it was anything physical or nothing like that. Probably verbal is what we're hearing, and that's kind of what led him to take his leave of absence. Now, there was some reports out there, and they were quickly kind of critical. I know some places were critical of the people put them out, but now they're coming true. So, I think sometimes people jump the gun and don't want information coming out, and they deny things even though it is truth. But Miller and Tocchet, I think, have had their share of issues this year. And at least that's what we're kind of led to believe, which is part of why this has become such a hot button topic, and that's something that the Canucks want to take care of. You throw in all the issues with Pettersson, the fact he's had run-ins with Tocchet, and here we are. So, it's believed that the Canucks in the last couple of weeks have decided that this is absolutely important, that they have to move one of Miller or Pettersson, with Miller being the preference here, to kind of save things in their locker room, to get a better culture, and to get the team kind of back on track here. Obviously, they're not quite having the year that they did last year. Now, other teams believed to be in the mix. Like I said, we had heard some stuff about New Jersey. I wondered about Nemec being on the block, because, I know Devils fans keep telling me they're not going to trade him, but I know he's not happy, and it's tough to see a path to a full-time NHL spot for him with what they have signed on defense and the fact that they want to extend Kovacevic. So, to me, if I'm Tom Fitzgerald, I'd consider it for the right piece. I don't know if Miller's the right piece, but there was some talk with the Devils, between a guy like him or maybe a Dawson Mercer or something. But right now, according to Elliot Friedman, the Devils are involved, but they don't seem to be maybe either as serious or considered a front runner. He did mention that there were some of the thoughts about the Dallas Stars maybe being involved, but the belief is that Miller has, through Miller's agency, has let the Canucks know that they would not waive to go to another Canadian market. So I keep hearing in Montreal, Toronto, all these other Canadian spots. I don't think he's going to waive at all to go to another Canadian team, so I think that's definitely out the window. So he can get rid of that. The belief is he prefers to go to the Eastern U.S. Rangers would definitely be the prime, most likely spot he would waive for, but the belief is that maybe another Eastern team not too far from there that he may be willing to waive. So the Hurricanes are getting a lot of attention. Friedman mentions them as a team to watch, that there's been some belief before that they've been wanting to pull off a big move to add another top forward. I know Rick Dhaliwal added when it comes to Carolina that the Canucks in the past, at least in the past, doesn't mean how they feel today, but in the past have liked Jack Roslovic, they like Kotkaniemi, and that maybe a package around those guys could be included. I don't know. I don't know that Kotkaniemi is really going to move the needle for you in Vancouver, so money-wise, I can see why the Hurricanes would want to include him. I don't know that that's really a great deal for Vancouver. You don't want to get stuck with that contract. The Roslovic deal's different. I can see how that might be a fit. I wonder how they feel about some of their younger players. Obviously the Hurricanes do have some interesting prospects there. So I don't know. Tough to say exactly what would be offered, but I think they could make an interesting, compelling case for Vancouver. But again, not a done deal here. I think it would be complicated, and we don't know for sure that Miller would waive for Carolina. So that kind of complicates things there. So right now, like I said, those are the 4 teams. The Devils, Rangers, Stars, and Canes are the main ones that we're hearing. But, it seems like the Rangers and the Canes are the most serious. But we haven't heard any kind of confirmation that Miller would waive for the Hurricanes. So it seems like it's a matter of if, not when. There was also one Vancouver media member said that he thought he had heard that Miller had dinner with some teammates on Friday night, and it was kind of looked upon as like his last, like a last hurrah, like almost like a goodbye, farewell type of thing. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was out there. It could be so it's expected that they're plugging away here. There was reports that said that the Canucks on Saturday were huddled up in a conference room, almost like a war room around that you see around the trade deadline, and just kind of hammering away at this for several hours, trying to get this done. So they've made it a top priority that Miller is going to be moved. It's not a matter of if, it's when and to where and what's the return. And I think it's something that we're likely going to see. It could be any time. It could be tonight. It could be tomorrow. It could be the next day. I don't think it's going to be too long, but they have to make sure they don't, jump the gun here, so they get a deal that works for them moving forward. But, and in Boeser's case, where he's potentially available here too, because it doesn't sound like they're going to sign him right now, but like I said, things can change in that. Is there any chance they go together? I don't know. That would be a massive deal. They have played together a lot, so that would be interesting too. So let me know your thoughts on that scenario and JT Miller and everything else discussed here in today's video, and we'll talk about it further down in the comments. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.